Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Grossman Files. Hey. We got a great one for you today. Yeah. We got a great one for you today. Yeah. We got a great one. Said we got a great one for you today. And listen, let's just face it. Son of Sam, the topic, it's pretty kicked. I mean, it's been kicked for a while. I mean, what more do you need to know? He was a loser schlub, wigging out in his apartment, waging war against his neighbors, and then taking that citywide. That's all you really need to know. He blamed some demons in the end, some barking dogs, and he went back on that. Then he spent the rest of his freaking natural life just basically who-sowing whoever he could who-sow along the way to get commissary and to have something to do to pass the time. I mean, let's just face it. As we say hello to, we got Ruby, we got Nicole's Knots, we got all good names taken, we got Kathy McGaughy, that gang is all here. So what's going on, guys? So yeah, this impromptu little show today. I actually been sitting on this for a while, but I thought to myself, well, I don't want to be negative just for the sake of negativity. I want there to be some form of education that goes along with doing shows ragging on people like Jonathan Mythsell and vile beasts like Dana at Rotting Jewels. Because let's face it, nobody really is watching any of us. Nobody cares about any of this. These people are, of course, in the case of Dana, going after my family, which I don't like. So I figured, let me just lie and wait for a little while and see what happens with this Epstein thing, because like I know these people are going to glom on it. I know these people are going to go hard, especially Dana, because she's made claims that my father's affiliated with Epstein somehow. And we're going to put those claims to the test today with a very simple Google search. But yeah, it's like the subject of Son of Sam is kicked. So I figure if I'm going to have any meaningful contribution at this point to the subject, because let's face it, I'm not finding any more victims. I'm not looking for any more victims. I'm not looking to pin any more crimes on Berkowitz. It's never been about that. But I figure I could at least comment on the craziness that's going on in this alleged community and of course the fringe elements of it. And if I can figure out a way to sort of make fun of these people while educating, because now we're going to tie it into this Epstein release. Okay, the Epstein release. Now, if you're a head of conspiracy like I am, you've been hearing about Epstein since like 2002. And I often wondered along the way if this dude is just Emmanuel Goldstein from 1984, just some amorphous guy that nobody ever could materialize in all of those years that he was alive, and question him and all that kind of stuff, and like just some boogeyman Epstein. And I have to say, as a person who unlike Jonathan Mitchell, I don't sit and think about child crimes all day long. I'm not perseverating over child pornography and satanic cults and druidistic trafficking rituals, and then burying bodies, this mass graves of bodies these people are talking about. It's gone absolutely nuts. But I kind of forgot where I was going with it. So let's see what people are saying in the chat. Ruby says they think you're related to the Grossman family mentioned without doing proper Yeah, I mean, the genealogy is the least of their concerns. Just a simple Google search, as we'll see today. Two Google searches. So I figured that I would start doing these commentaries every now and then when the time is right. Again, I could do one of these a week. I could do one a day. I could do a whole series just on Jonathan Mythsell's blog, and get a lot of comedy out of it, talking about Druidism and the connecting the writings of Peter Straub to the Son of Sam. And of course, all predicated on this fantasy called the Son of Sam cult, which doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. I mean, these people are literally going to war over Rumpelstiltskin and Little Red Robin Hood. I mean, that's kind of where it's at this point. So I figure that the time is ripe to like sort of connect these Epstein files to the craziness of the Son of Sam community. And also, since Epstein has come up with regards to my family, I'm not going to sit here and defend and do all that kind of stuff. That's not really what this is all about, although there is an element of that. But this is just to put my side of the story in one nice little succinct little show where I can basically show very easily how the claims of this vile and filthy pig Dana Whitmire and what she has to say about my father. And the thing is that she's just smart enough to know that she doesn't actually have to come out and say a lot of things that her stupid followers, of which unfortunately she has more than we do. I mean, conspiracy theory is very good if you get into that, because of course it's never ending. You can never prove their points, but also unfortunately there's a lot of mentally ill people out there who buy all this crap. Right, Nikki, you mean Roy Cohn wasn't hanging out with? Oh, we're going to talk about Roy Cohn today. Maybe a little bit. But anyway, yeah. So like the time is ripe with Epstein. And before anybody gets on me with Epstein, I'm kind of agnostic on Epstein. I've been hearing this dude's name now for over 20 years. And it's just turned into Emmanuel Goldstein from 1984 to me. So far, anything I've seen in this alleged dump of files, which I have not gone through with any sort of thoroughness, because I don't sit around on like Jonathan Mythsell and think about child pornography rings and killing kids all day. It's just not where I want to put. First of all, what am I going to do about this? Right? Like, what am I sitting here in my apartment, or even if I were to go out and somehow protest it, right? Like the Soros protesters are doing all over the place now. What would that accomplish? It wouldn't accomplish anything. So I never concerned myself with Epstein. And from what I'm seeing so far in these files, yeah, these sickos might have been having coded language about doing things with kids. It's very possible, probable, but it's not something that I have any control over. Therefore, I don't really think about it or wallow in it. I certainly don't try to connect it to Son of Sam, and I never in a million years would ever, unlike the beast, the vile pig Dana of Rotting Jewels, I would never in a million years go after someone's family with specious and so easily debunked claims of connections between Jim Grossman and Jeffrey Epstein, which don't exist, has never existed. And as we're going to see, one simple Google search would have shown her that maybe this was a wrong avenue of research to go down to. But I don't think that's possible with this person. I've never seen someone with the mixture of extreme narcissism, self-hatred, right? Total self-hatred, as is evidenced by the overly tattooed demeanor and facial features and neck. I mean, it's revolting. And then, of course, someone who's so self-righteous in their absolute sheer ignorance. And then to top it all off in this wicked brood, there's an element of meanness there that's just so off-putting. And normally I don't really care. I mean, she's been laying off me for a while lately, but I never forgot her going after my dad with Epstein. So this is kind of like 3 years in the making now, however long this vile, wretched creature has been stuck like a barnacle to the absolute bottom of the barrel of the Son of Sam world. So what's going on? Our wheel is our wheel in the house. We got our wheel. All right, so we got some things to do today, and then of course we're going to hit Mythsell, and Dana and Mythsell are separated out. They're not affiliated together, at least not in this show. So yeah, I mean, look, there's no more. Who's interested anymore in John Carr? Why am I caring about John Carr in 2026? Leave the Carrs alone at this point. Let them freaking go into obscurity where they belong. I mean, in a sense, yes, they're heroes of Son of Sam, but they didn't ask for all this crap. They didn't ask for this drunkard with bad teeth called Maury Terry to come out of the woodwork, out of the sewers, and start talking about, oh yeah, John Carr's nickname was Wheaties. Someone told me. So anyway, all right, let's carry on. So of course, what are we talking about here? Where we're talking about the absolute bottom of the barrel, the fringe of the Son of Sam world. We're talking about your Jonathan Mythsell up there. You're talking about your Dana of Rotting Jewels. And of course, I thought that the most appropriate sort of living emoji I could possibly use was Chubsy Ubsy from the Little Rascals. Not only because he bears a striking resemblance to the revolting pig Dana from Rotting Jewels, but his face is just so perfect there. All right, so basically, what are we talking about here? We're talking about this wretched creature has been trying to tie my dad to Jeffrey Epstein now for a couple years. And again, we're going to see how what she just plants the seed and then it germinates, and we're going to see how it grows out, because we're going to see video evidence of like where her it's actually mean. That's the only way you could really put it. It's actually very mean and bullying behavior to do this. So it's all about, yeah, man, Jim Grossman was so hooked up into the power structure of New York. And then she's talking about Mr. Grossman's client list isn't as jazzy, but I'd argue it's way more sus. I'm still putting everything together. And of course, this was last year, 2 years ago, showing you that this has been going on since 2024. So, you know, you don't see me doing shows about this very often. So it's not like something that that obsesses me, that, I mean, it bothers me. Yeah, of course. Any human being with feelings would be bothered if their family is being, well, first of all, involved. I never involve family. You just don't do that in this business of YouTube. But it's just absolutely mean. It's horrendous. So, yeah, so I figure every now and then I talk about it. And now that they brought it in with Epstein and Epstein's in the news, I figured we would comment on this and then, of course, never talk about it again. Yes, Chubsy Wubsy. What's up, L. Sid Barrett, Captain Windsor, U.S. Airborne, U.S. I think that's what that said. Yeah. So welcome. That's a new name I've never seen before. So yeah. So look at this. Like, so what she's trying to do. All right. So let me just take this a step back. My father was a account executive and executive vice president of a company called Howard Rubenstein Associates. They were, and probably still are, I don't know. My dad retired 15 years ago. They were like New York's power brokers. They were the PR firm, public relations firm to all the world's power players. And actually, that's freaking true. When you told people like back in the 80s, like Rubenstein, I work for Rubenstein, it held a lot of weight. But the thing that these people don't understand is that just because my father held that title doesn't mean much when you when you look at the reality of what that business and the way it was structured. He was an executive vice president. Oh, it sounds great on paper. Oh, he was one of like 15 executive vice presidents. It just meant that you were in charge of like a team of what were called account executives. Account executives were the people who were the public face of the organization that was paying for the service. In my father's case, it was the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, the Sanitation Department, the Firemen's Union, Uniform Fire Department Union, the Port Authority Police. And he had some high profile people too, people who you'd be like, oh, it's a conspiracy. Yeah, he did do PR for the Harriman family. Doesn't mean he was connected with them in any way. He even did work with Donald Trump in New Jersey. Every day he would come home from that. This was in the late 80s and say, this guy Trump was I hate this guy. He's one of the worst people on planet Earth. He would constantly be talking about how Trump was horrible. A really terrible person. I never forget those screeds of his in the late 80s into the early 90s. So just because you work for Rubenstein doesn't mean that you're the account executive of and running the public relations of Jeffrey Epstein in this case. I don't know who the account executive was for Jeffrey Epstein. You'd have to do some more research on that. But I can guarantee it was not Jim Grossman. So that's how that whole thing works. And Dana could have reached out to me and asked. That's what a journalist would do. If you weren't sure about something and the way, like you were going to make a claim that Grossman was involved with Epstein because Epstein utilized the services of Rubenstein. All right, then you would want to make sure that that actually was the case. You wouldn't just make this specious claim and then make the connection, as we're going to see. It's insane. So anyway, she puts out the usual list, the red meat to the lunatics. So Rubenstein's clients were Rupert Murdoch, Trump, Perlman, Lauder, Bloomberg, and this is all true, right? And it's all, I guess, the way you look at it. He did Mario Cuomo, George Pataki, Schumer, as well as Celia Cruz and Tito Puente, right? He just, it usually wasn't ideological with this guy from what little I knew of him. My father really never talked to me about work, and I was never really too interested in what he was doing. So that was like a big blur, a 30-year blur in my life. And I don't really know much about it. So yeah, let's see what people are saying. I saw Epstein and Berkey at the Eagles Nest in Untermeyer. Yeah, it's true. So all right, we're already seeing a really very poor understanding of the reality of what Epstein was and is. And so that's why, of course, Chubsy Wubsy is looking at the vile creature Dana is like that. That's why he's looking like that. But anyway, so she just throws the stone into the pond. She just throws out that first little frequency, which echoes and ripples out into the conspiracy land. And her friends start picking up on it and then repeating this lie and then making up like a game of telephone and choose your own adventure. It gets even crazier. We're going to see video proof of that in a minute. But like, this is her friend, J.J. Vance, who, if you saw him, the dude is extremely unkempt. Looks like he's drunk doing his podcasts, of very low intelligence. So she puts this up on Twitter just the other day about talking about Epstein's publicist. Howard Rubenstein is also the publicist for the New York Post. Yes, that's true. And if you think I have any connection in 2026 to the New York Post because of this, you're out of your freaking mind. But these intimations are being made, right? Because look at where this goes. So this is some file here which talks about Epstein's publicist, a very innocent email. I see nothing wrong with this email whatsoever. And then, Manny Grossman's dad's boss, Howard Rubenstein. And what does he do, right? So the intimation is that because my father was working for Rubenstein, that somehow or other he's involved with Epstein. I guarantee if you asked my father who Epstein was, that he would have very little idea as to any of this. Of course, now he's very old, so there's other reasons for that, but even 10 years ago. So yeah, so let's show again how this kind of ripples out into the YouTube land. Whoops. And how people take this and run with it. I mean, this is just kind of crazy stuff. So here's the homunculus, absolute weirdo. Very, very much looks like an offender to me. And of course, he's obsessed with child crimes, and, you know, all he thinks about are crimes against children. And I can really tell you that unless I'm making fun of it here and discussing it, the thoughts of child crime never enter into my brain at all during the during the week, during the day, it's like something I don't think about. I never sit here and perseverate over crimes against children. I mean, do I condone it and like it? No, I don't. But do I sit here and fill my mind with it all day long? No. That's bad for you, bro. First of all, what are you gonna do about it? Seriously, and I'm not saying that to be a dick. What are you gonna do about it? All your exposure, the only thing that's happening is that you're talking to basically very low intelligence people who are into this conspiracy crap, and you're talking to each other. I mean, I don't make any illusions about what I do here. I'm speaking to very few people. No one gives a shit about Son of Sam. I'm not trying to become famous. I'm not thinking about any of that kind of stuff. No one's watching. Like, you don't have influence, bro. So you could talk about Epstein and make these connections, as we're going to see Jon Mythsell does very copiously in a few minutes. But check out what this dude has to say. Now, this guy has never spoken to me in his life. He has no idea about anything he's about to say. Yet look how easily it just rolls off his tongue. And where do you think he's learning this from?
Yeah, man. The Son of Sam. 100%, buddy. It'd be a little too hard to catch you back up right now, but yeah, man, the Grossman bound and determined to destroy Rothstein's legacy. I discussed it briefly, but I think Manny Grossman, his dad was directly tied into psychological warfare and running an clandestine intelligence domestically, I believe. So,
where is this fucking guy getting this from? I mean, I wish that I could have Dolomite saying, "Bitch, are you for real?" Maybe I should upgrade to the unfree StreamYard to do this. Let's see if this guy has anything else to say. So now my father, so you see how it's turned? Like, where's he learning this from? Right? This is one of Dana's friends. So clearly they're having conversations behind the scenes. I mean, it's fine. They have free speech. They have the rights to these thoughts. and I'm not worried about this harming me or my family. And I know that if I never brought it up, none of you would have ever have known this existed. But that's not the point. This is kind of just me saying, like, this is a learning experience for us. And maybe you were like this at one point, where you just were so caught up in this world of, I was lost in a world of fantasy. Yeah, I was caught in a game of make believe. Yeah, I was lost in a world of fantasy. And I spent years freaking in that world of fantasy. Maybe you did too. And a lot of it was proffered to me initially by the liar, the drunkard, the manipulator, the abuser, the not good friend, the chain smoker, the drunkard, the guy with bad teeth, the guy who sent you this 1,500 feet this way when he really meant 1,500 feet that way, and the spiritually snap suture lover, Maury Terry. He was my gateway into this world of craziness. I originally started out as like a 90s liberal. I was a WBAI listener. I was very anti-system and all that kind of stuff. And then what kind of woke me up was seeing how the white liberal treated basically their emotional support animal, this dude named Mumia Abu Jamal. And I was very off-put by the whole liberal establishment. I was working then as an intern for WBAI. And then when freaking Oklahoma City hit, I then learned about the militia movement and the Turner diaries. And I was like all into this whole world of like, and then I got into David Icke and later in the 90s. And of course, 9/11. Now, I'm still on board with 9/11. Don't get me wrong. 9/11 was an obvious inside job from day one. I knew it from day one. By then, I had already been hip to the New World Order. But somehow or other, over the years, of course, and maybe your experience is the same, you kind of morphed into what now people are calling a far-right conservative. But anyway, I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but I was once heavily into this world, and it's crazy to me that after your Billy the Artist interview, that people could still be on Maury Terry's dick in such a way. It makes no sense whatsoever to me. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I guess in a sense I fight against it, but in either case, it is what it is. All we can do is call it out when we see it, comment on this craziness. So now we see how like these things, these idiots who are like, yeah, Manny's dad's boss, and they're so flippant with just making these claims with no proof whatsoever. Bitch, are you for real? Are you for real now? So here's where this all began for Dana. 2 years ago, she made this slide where she took my dad's LinkedIn and somehow turned it into he's now a psychological operations for the military industrial complex. Is that what that dude said? Like, where are you coming up with this? Show me the document where it shows this. Or is this just again lost in a world of fantasy? I really think that that's what it is. And seriously, like, is that good for your brain? Is it good for your mental health and your well-being to be constantly thinking about pedophilia? And as we're going to see today, to be absolutely obsessed to the point where your gobs of spittle are coming out of your mouth, frothing, whilst talking about vats of acid. Vats of acid. We're going to get into vats of acid, but I have something to show first. So this is where, of course, she tried to tie my dad in. So he worked at Rubenstein now. So he works at Rubenstein. So here she says that the connection is because in an article, it said Jim Grossman of the Howard Rubenstein, which has been hired to spruce up the image of the Harvard Club. Okay, so my dad worked for the Harvard Club to try to spruce up their image, whatever that means. And because Jeffrey Epstein walked into the office of Howard Rubenstein, again, I don't know who was his account executive. It wasn't my father. But he was talking about, have you talked? Do you understand what they've accomplished? The Epstein donated 9.1 million to Harvard. Grossman of the PR firm has been hired to spruce up the image of the Harvard Club. So I saw this and I was like, are the Harvard Club and Harvard even affiliated together? Let's find out that basic bit of information. So I Googled it and it said the Harvard Club of New York City are private independent social clubs, not officially part of the university, founded by alumni to foster fellowship, offering amenities like dining and lodging. Membership is restricted to alumni. So you have to have graduated from the Harvard to join the Harvard Club, but it's not officially part of the university. So my father was working for a club. It could have been the Friars Club. It could have been Sal's Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. It could have been the Ravenite Social Club. It could have been any club in the world that wasn't officially affiliated with Harvard University. It doesn't matter that it's called the Harvard Club. So you'd think that this basic level of research would be done, right? Before you went ahead with these very specious claims of like, Manny's father is connected to Epstein because Epstein used their services of Rubenstein, and Manny's father worked for Rubenstein. Yeah, he worked for Rubenstein, but so did about 150 other people. And my father was an account executive for things like the police union, the New York City Fire Department, the sanitation department. Occasionally he would do things for individual one-offs, like when Marv Albert got caught wearing ladies' underwear. my father had to defend that guy, and that was his job. He didn't necessarily like it, just like, does a doctor like every patient that comes his way? No, but he's still going to do the professional job. Does the mechanic like every person that comes in? No, but he's still going to do a professional job. So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. But, you know, it doesn't mean anything to these people. This is this crazy Chubsy-ubsy. This is what she's talking about just yesterday.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll start because I haven't highlighted anything, just so you guys know. Pulling this stuff has been sort of emotionally exhausting.
I'm playing it a little fast.
So we're just going to be kind of ripping through everything. It's not organized. Don't care. So if you have any expectations today, you can leave or just drop them and take the ride with me. We are going to start with Manny, his father's former employer, because Manny Grossman of the Netflix documentary about David Berkowitz, I don't even remember what the fuck it's called.
Oh, she remember. Are you kidding me? You remember very well what it's called. And not that it matters to me or to you, but you made a much more big a deal about this than I ever did. I always said it's not going to make any appreciable difference in my life. And of course it hasn't.
You know, he keeps going on this, little campaign where he challenges me to a debate. And he says, my naysayers, my detractors, they have Grossman derangement syndrome. He thinks that he's relevant like that, that they don't answer to his request for debate. And I say, well, how can you debate me when you're busy cupping the NYPD's balls, right? Because we all know that he is.
You see how vulgar that is? Like, that's not even proper discourse. The truth is, I did ask these people for a debate. Come on my show and prove that Berkowitz had help. It should be very easy. You you have the files. You've had the Maury Terry files that I so kindly got you guys. Never got a thanks for that, by the way. You've had these freaking files for years. Hop to it. Instead of making these dumb, specious claims about Jim Grossman and Jeffrey Epstein, hop to it.
But he says that I have accused his father of working for Epstein and being involved in the Son of Sam cover-up. This is not true.
She did a whole
I have
show on
pointed
it.
out, I think it's kind of fucking weird that his dad was literally tasked under Howard Rubenstein's PR firm cleaning up the image of the Harvard Club, which many of us know Harvard deeply tied in with Epstein.
The Harvard Club. So in 2026, just yesterday, she still didn't do this freaking very easy to do research that I did, which was just ask the right question. Is the Harvard Club affiliated at all with Jeffrey Epstein? And the answer, of course, is no. So another thing that she could have done and then given me an apology, I mean, I would have accepted it actually, is if, give me a second here while I get to this. Here we go. Is it up there? Hold on. Okay, is just go to the U.S. Department of Justice Epstein Library, right, where they have a search engine, and just do this. Type in Jim Grossman. Oh, no results found. Please try a different search. All right, well, let's try James Grossman. Because, of course, if he was affiliated through Epstein with Rubenstein, there's a lot of Steens there. You'd figure he'd be all over these files, right? So, oh, no results found, none. You know, all of that. Just say you're sorry and then move on, and then tell your audience that you were wrong about these assertions and that you feel bad that you made these specious and really actually quite mean and vicious and vile claims against the member of someone's family who you don't like. I mean, because that's basically what this is all about. You don't like me for some reason, and that's fine. You don't have to like me. That's totally cool, yo. But at least get it right with the research. Sorry, I'm just a little distracted I have a lot of windows open here. All right, so let's move on from that. I mean, that's a really sad person. As you can always tell from, like, if you watch someone for a while, you can see what's going on a little bit in their life from, well, their physical appearance. Let's just put it that way. And I hate to be so mean about it, but when you have someone so overly tattooed and with all that facial tattoo, it's a form of it indicates some form of self-sabotage and self-hatred that bespeaks a very deep psychological issue. And I would have no reason to even think of this person if they weren't lying about my father. But anyway, so that hopefully will be the last time I ever have to really deal with this. And even if I do, you guys won't know about it because I only pop up every now and then with a show like this. As you know, I like to usually keep it on point, talk about the case. But yo, the case is kicked. How many times are we going to talk about John Carr? John Carr, what does he have to do with Son of Sam? First, get him into Son of Sam, and then maybe I'll be interested in his alleged murder or suicide or whatever it was. I don't care. Right now, 25 people in America have died of murder or suicide. I can't think of every one of them. I'm just a human being trying to get through the day. It's the same thing of like these people who are obsessed with child pornography and burying kids in Untermeyer Park. What are you gonna do about it? You have Jonathan Mythsell, who's our next person here. let me get his little slide up. Now, to his credit, he just calls me an agent. He doesn't go after my family, so he doesn't have quite the same level of disgust I have for Dana that I do with him, but he is kind of a nasty guy. Like, we're going to go through some of his recent Twitter pages, replies, because first of all, like, the dude is a straight up Jew hater. Like, he just hates Jews. Right? I mean, in order to approach something like this and to put up something like this, you got to hate Jews. And then we've got to keep talking about it, even when scolded and threatened with cancellation. We must keep talking about how it's always the same cleanup crew trying to downplay the disaster. This dude is obsessed with cleanup crews. He thinks that I'm part of a cleanup. Ruby, he thinks that I'm part of a cleanup crew. And that's kind of like, in the sense, that's where him and Dana are connected, because she thinks that my father was part of the cleanup crew on Son of Sam. Oh, I forgot to play the best part of her screed, but I didn't want to go through more of her crap. But she talks about how, do you think it was just Manny was getting organic, that like it was organic that he became known and was put into a documentary, and do you think that that was just because of his talent and just because of whatever she was trying to insult me with? And unfortunately, the answer is very mundane. Yeah, it's just because I picked up that camera and did it. I didn't have any help, except for, of course, the people who helped me along the way do the infrastructure of the video series. But no, there was no cleanup crew. There's nobody trying to whitewash the process, guys. You really should stop thinking about this type of things. It's not good for your mental health. I get it. It's great for views because there's a lot of crazy people out there today in these days, especially with this Epstein stuff. But like, so here they're talking about more evidence of Epstein wanting to buy newborn babies. You offered to buy my babies 6 months into our relationship. What the fuck were these people into? Or were babies used and extracted? So here they are playing game of telephone for each other, taking some email, which I don't know about. But the thing is, you don't know about it either. Even if this was talking about killing babies, I have two questions about it. Number one, what good does it do to fill your head with this stuff all day long? Because number two, what are you going to do about it? The answer is nothing, and I'm trying not to be antagonistic. I'm not going to do anything about it either. What power do we have as individuals in this society to do anything about it? The only thing we have power over is over our own thoughts, actions, feelings, thoughts, what we do on the day-to-day level of our own lives and how we treat other people. And hopefully enough people act the same way you do, and then you have a cohesive society. But in either case, I don't see what talking about newborn babies all the time, and then you get this, they're involved in weird occult rituals that involve rape and murder. This is Jonathan Mythsell, obsessed with rape and murder of kids. There's a horrific and pretty well documented precedent for this. Westchester County, New York, circa the 60s, 70s, rich weirdos and child predators. This is what the Son of Sam case was actually about. I mean, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, bro? This is what Son of Sam was actually about. How? Tell me how. Instead of just telling me that this is what it was all about, show me how. You have the files, Mythsell. You were very lucky that you were part of that four-man crew that you were added on at the last minute because people felt sorry for you. You were very lucky that you got access to these files. You had them for years. What have you done with them? Nothing. Right, Chocolate? I follow this Epstein crap and it's a waste of time. I mean, I hate to be like that because then I'm going to have people now saying, see, Manny is now continuing the work of his father, who was tasked with cleaning up the Harvard Club, which has nothing to do with the university, which was very easily found in a Google search. But Manny's now involved because he's saying that Epstein is a waste of time. Yes, that's what I'm saying. You could spend the next 10 years of your life now going down this rabbit hole. And when the time comes of your death on your last dying day, you're going to be no closer to anything. So why spend your energy doing this? With Son of Sam, I found the answers that I was looking for. Would I like to know about the Bronx Sniper? And hell, even would I like to get absolute confession from Berkey about Savino? Yeah, of course I would. But I don't sit here and think about this like all the time. It's like you see that my shows are dropping off. I'm now not even really talking about the case so much as the sociology behind it. Commenting as we're doing today, using the work of the Lunatic Fringe to show how like, I'm trying to talk you off the ledge of this conspiracy crap. Go down it if you want. Like I went down it. I was the biggest Icky fan. I rocked 911 and the Alice in Wonderland book that he had. I had all his books. I had some crazy books back in the day concerning conspiracies. Every one of your Sumerian books about the Anunnaki, I rocked that shit. Slave Species from God was my Bible in my early 30s. In fact, around the same time that I was talking to the usher who was bullshitting me about knowing Berkowitz and John Carr in 2003 at the synagogue, the book that I was reading while running the sound system of that synagogue every week for them during Shabbat services was Slave Species of God. And I used to rock with Kenny. Oh, it's Ken from The Process. No, it was just some dude named Kenny. Was the one of the janitors there, and he was all into the Slave Species of God. He told me about it and I bought it, and of course that was what I was into, and no wonder I never got laid back then. So anyway, so it's like I just feel like it's a total waste of your time. All right, if you feel that the world is run by satanic pedophiles, fine, internalize that, but then go on. Like sitting here and thinking about it all day long doesn't do you good. So he's talking about ancient occultic beliefs, and here's a DOJ report of a girl kidnapped at 5. She was taken underground and kept in stalls. I mean, a lot of this is like fantasy. I'm telling you guys, there's an element of titillation that these sickos get from constantly wallowing this crap. No sane person would write this down and feel good about it or put this up. Here's a girl. She was taken underground with stalls with many other girls. They were regularly beaten and raped, impaired. I've stumbled across dozens of documents. Yeah, Jake. And you probably were. I don't want to say what I was just about to say. But it's spiritually sick to wallow in this. And then, of course, Mythsell chimes in, just like the rich, sadistic Westchester County weirdos who engineered the Son of Sam attacks in 76. Elites were raping and killing children in occult rituals 50 years ago, and they're still doing it today. rich, sadistic Westchester County weirdos? Name them. Who are they? And you can't get to use Maury Terry's words, because Maury Terry's words are, you can't use the words of a liar to prove something. Get me your own evidence. Where is it? What Westchester County weirdos? I don't know what you're talking about here. This makes no sense to me. What elites were raping and killing children in occult rituals? Which ones? Like, how do you know this? And maybe it happened, Mythsell. Maybe it did happen. Maybe they were burying tons of kids in Untermeyer Park, as you say. I don't see how they could, given the realities of that glacial till soil, which is in the woodlands, which is basically impossible to dig. And animals would find those bodies pretty quickly, and it would make a huge news story if huge amounts of burials of bodies were done in middle of a city park. But take that out notwithstanding, even if that's all true, and so you and your friends talk about it, great. I mean, I guess that's your thing. Like, is that your thing? To sit here and talk about rich weirdos and to perseverate constantly about pedophiles and occult rituals and druidistic practices in Untermeyer Park. That's your thing? That's kind of weird, bro. But as I can see, like from your latest of blogs, here we go again, the same topic. Sexual abuse of boys and girls is rampant. Oh, let's keep on talking. First of all, these two look like offenders. I'm sorry, but they have the phenotype of an offender. I must say that Jonathan Mythsell, to me, does not have the phenotype of an offender. But these two do. Like, I know Chris Hedges is supposedly cool, but I don't know that to be a fact. I don't know who this weirdo is. And then, of course, here you go. There's a well-documented precedent for this. Westchester County, New York, during the 60s, 70s. Rich weirdos, child predation, occult rituals, perpetrators won a Nobel Prize winner, and burial sites confirmed. Knowing what we do know about Epstein, this president must be re-examined. All right, so now we're getting into Epstein here. First of all, burial sites confirmed? What are... Dude, burial sites confirmed? What are you talking about? Yo, there's never been one burial site confirmed. What are you referring to? And well-documented precedent for this. Who's well documenting this? First of all, that it would be so well documented. There's societies responsible for documenting rich, what'd you say? Rich weirdos, child predation. There's people documenting this. Dude, your documentation is the shit-stained files of the liar and the person with bad teeth. Maury Terry. And yo, Ralph, dude, if you're wondering why I'm saying that Maury Terry has bad teeth, oh my God, you should see what I just saw. So over at Cracklin' Rosie, she just did a pretty good live stream. Book Club made an appearance, and when Book Club makes an appearance, well, you know you're in for a pretty long time that he's going to talk. God bless him. So they were on for a while, and it was fun to listen to, and I enjoyed it very much. And one of the things that came up was Omega in the comments section mentioned this documentary that Maury Terry made with Lawrence Klausner of all people, and it's on Amazon Prime. I go to Cracklin' Rosie. I'm not, just to try to get her some people over at her channel. She has it in her post section to anybody who's truly interested. Cracklin' Rosie True Crime. Go to her posts. I'll have the link to the video. And anyway, Maury Terry's teeth were atrocious. They seriously looked rotted out of his mouth. So this was a dude who, by the time that this production was being made, he was basically hanging on for dear life, essentially trying so hard to sell his story. What it was is he would tell a scenario, and then sorry, let me take this off, and then freaking Klausner would talk about the same scenario, and they were never on the screen together, but there was one arbitrator thinking who was more truthful. And I won't give away the ending. You're gonna have to watch it for yourself. But by this time, it was like late in Maury Terry's life. It was probably late 90s, early 2000s. And it was just a sad spectacle. I'm convinced now the dude wore a wig, absolutely convinced. And his teeth, they were horrible. Thank you, Ruby. I appreciated it. So yeah. So anyway, I'm going on tangents. I'm just trying to have some fun today because look, though, what's there to talk about left in Son of Sam? Are you gonna still have show? You still want me to do shows about the strange death of Michael Carr? What does Michael Carr have to do with Son of Sam? You want me to talk about Pat O'Shaughnessy again? What does he have to do with any of this business? What you want me to talk about? I don't know. I mean, what haven't we done to death about Son of Sam? I mean, the situation is kicked. The best thing that I can do is come on here, and Chocolix says that he found what was Chocolix? This is like a therapy session for me. Yes, for you and me both. Because let me tell you something. It's not, despite what these people think about me, that I'm some processed satanic cultist. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm like a normal person who just happened to start a video series at the right time. I got a few thousand fans. We did some fun things, some things to change the history of the case. Whoop-de-doo, la-di-da. That and $1 will pay for parking. I mean, it means nothing in the end. I'm happy for things that I did for people like Wendy and the various people who found closure and a little bit of peace through the vehicle of our video series. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure where I was going with that. So Manny, what's going on, my friend? Yeah, so these kind of shows are now cathartic for me too, just to get some things off my chest. I mean, I've been dealing with this Epstein Grossman thing, and of course this show isn't going to change anything. I'm not that naive, but at least there might be one or two people who were curious enough to find out what it is I'm talking about their hero, Jonathan Mitchell, about, or their hero, the vile pig, Dana from Rotting Jewels, and what am I going off about, and be like, yo, that is actually pretty simple. The Harvard Club has nothing to do with Harvard University. So that takes away her argument. Oh, you mean that just working for Rubenstein doesn't mean that you're the account executive of Epstein? Oh, thank you. I didn't know how that worked. I didn't know how that particular company was structured. And that Jim Grossman's accounts were wholly separated from Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, you mean when you put in Grossman's name into the Epstein files, no results are found? All right, well, that gives me a little bit of pause. Maybe I'm not going to think about these things like Dana tries to portray them. And then this weirdo starts talking about psychological operations and that my dad was in charge of psychological operations. That's insane. Let's see what people are saying out there, and then we'll get to the absolutely crazy see, and then so we're going to get to this here, and then I'll get to your comments. And then finally, before we get into his newest blog, which isn't that long, we won't be too much longer on the show. The Process Church allegedly dissolved bodies like Epstein in an acid vat during the 70s, according to a former close associate. They were ritual occultists and child predators with link to governments and intel agencies, just like Epstein. Always the same ugly story. Yeah, first of all, let's work this backwards. Let's reverse engineer. it's only always the same ugly story, Mythsell, because you make it that way. You invent this world where child predators are, first of all, doing this like you say they're doing it, which there's no proof. You may want that to be true. I understand it, that motivation, but you don't actually have any proof of anything. So it's always the same story because you're making your own reality that way. Right. And this doesn't just go for Mythsell. This goes for people like Dana and people of that ilk who truly believe the worst because someone has the same last name as someone. And this is one of the problems. And I'm going to get to your comments in a second. I just have something to say, which I've said over the years several times, is that Maury Terry helped to initiate what I call the last name phenomenon in true crime research, where people who now think that they're detectives say that someone has a last name of something, of someone who's maybe a guilty party, so therefore they're criminally conspiring together because they have the same last name. And so over the years, I've had to deal with being connected to North Fox Island because some dude named Grossman was involved. That never heard of the guy in my life, certainly not related to us. And even if he was related to me, even if it was my freaking brother, what does that mean for me? Right? That's where these people go wrong. And so Maury Terry created people like this, where now you have this dude talking about always the same ugly story. Yeah, because you can't get into your head that Billy the artist sold Maury Terry comic book art for drug money. Let's see what people are saying out here. I do wish there was something else Manny can investigate. He's good at it. It wouldn't be interesting. I covered murder. Nah, I appreciate the vote of confidence, Chocolate, my man or my woman or whoever you are. But the fact is, Son of Sam's in my blood. I had a feel for it because of the locality of everything involved, my sociological understanding of the players. It just was something that I hit at the right time, but I have no interest in anything else. Believe me, I would love to start talking about other things. I mean, I would love to do social commentary. I would love to even like do a show where I do reaction to music and things like that. But I first of all, YouTube can be a very, very time consuming place if you let it, and it could really do bad things into your personal life if you allow it, which I'm definitely say happened to me during the Son of Sam, the heavy duty early Son of Sam years of 21 to 23. But I just am not interested or interesting enough to sustain anything like that. So believe me, I'm so happy for the limited audience that I do have. All y'all people out there of the alleged planet who I think at this point we just all like laughing at this stuff together, making jokes about the spiritually sick, snap suturers, and Maury Terry has bad teeth, and Dana has no freaking clue when she talks about Jeffrey Epstein. These people live in a fantasy world where child predators are everywhere. I don't quite understand why they fill their minds with this stuff. It just makes no sense. It just really makes no sense. All right. Yes, we've been repeating the same set of insinuations for decades. No, we haven't provided any additional evidence or proof in that period of time. Right, exactly. They just the circle jerk. They just love talking to each other like, yo, but there were bodies buried. They're confirmed bodies. Yeah, you know why? Because Maury Terry on page 379 said it. And then John Carr, we know the cult existed because on page 427, he digs up 2 kids from a then wooded area. You know, people actually tell me, still try to front to me that I never read The Ultimate Evil. I have that book memorized. I never read The Ultimate Evil. All right, so let's carry on. I'm having too much fun here. All right, so always the same ugly story. Let's reverse engineer this a little bit more. So ritual occultists with child predators would link to government agencies and intel, just like Epstein. How do you know this? I would like to know. And then the process church allegedly dissolved bodies like Epstein in acid vat, according to a former close associate. So this is what his crazy blog is about. And we're going to go now to his actual blog, and we're going to read it together. So here you go. It's at Jonathan Substack, and I highly suggest you read this for whenever you need to pick me up. A little bit of comedy in case I'm not doing a show and like you want to read some stupidity. Mythsell actually thinks that we're threatened by him, and that we're so worried about him blowing the lid off the blowing the lid off the conspiracy that somehow or other it was worth it for the Epstein networks to put me out there to do this or something. Like it makes no sense. And that's what Dana does too. I mean, these people have this crazy way of looking at the world, and it doesn't do you any good, because again, what are you going to do? Like I actually, once, let me tell you something. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but when it came to Son of Sam, I did. Right? I set out to show the sights of Maury Terry's ultimate evil. I did that. Then all of a sudden, all of Maury Terry's friends became my friends, and we started going down the road of looking at Dr. Honorado and finding out the Lake Avenue and Sacred Heart. I did that. And then we started to realize that maybe we were sold a little bit of bill of goods. And then with the help of others, I went and interviewed the players of people, the Neto family, Mike Lorenzo, and all that. We did that. And then when we finally changed history by getting the release of the documented files to prove that Maury lied, and of course the Maury Terry files, then I used that to go and do something. Right, Mythsell? Like, what are you doing? You're not doing anything. Go do something. I went out and found Wendy Savino. You couldn't believe her story or not. It makes of no consequence. We did something. And now the time for doing's over. The Bronx sniper case, unfortunately, seems to be a complete dud. No one, except for me and Lorenzo and a few behind the scenes people, and of course the family of Margaret Iglesias, no one seems to care about it. And unfortunately, nobody in the Son of Sam community took it seriously enough to actually discuss it in a mature way. Some people did shows how we were looking for attention. What attention did we get? Has my life changed appreciably around me since that article was posted in the New York Post? What has changed? Nothing. So at least I think what I bring to the table, and I do this for myself because I learned a long time ago from the Buddhist teachings, not that I'm a Buddhist or anything, but like, don't get too attached and don't have any expectations. So, yeah. And of course, I have no expectations that any of these people are going to learn from the stupidity. But anyway, let's see what Ralph Dude said before we get into it. Jonathan is going to blow a lid off her. And by blow the lid, I mean repeat things from other podcasts who are themselves repeating stuff from the Ultimate Evil and Mae Brussel. Mae Brussel. Can you believe that people actually still take those names seriously? Even when I was a conspiracy head, when I was the biggest believer in the Anunnakis, and some of that stuff still intrigues me today. I have to be honest. Some of that ancient alien stuff and the slave species to mine gold things. It kind of makes sense if you actually sit and think about it. And why couldn't it be true? I mean, think about how long this earth has probably been here, several billion years, and we really don't know. I mean, it's just like Epstein. We really don't know. Like, these people like Mythsell are making up stories about vats of acid now and bringing it into Son of Sam and the process and talking about dissolving bodies, when this vats of acid thing has a very mundane explanation as well, which we're going to talk about. But yeah, he's blowing the lid off of nothing. I mean, it's crazy what these people are into. All right, so let's read this very short article. So some things never change. When you need bone dissolving acid, and lots of it. Jonathan Mythsell his writing style leaves a lot to be desired. It's very bombastic, heavy-handed, weighty. As the world sits aghast at the revelations contained in the Jeffrey Epstein files, heavily redacted though they are, I'm reminded of one of the most gruesome allegations to have emerged in the course of the Son of Sam conspiracy investigation. Specifically, I'm referring to the claim made by former process associate Jesse Turner that the process church obtained a vat of acid from a chemical factory in New Orleans in 1970. This acid, Turner said, was used to dispose of fetuses after the process had performed occult rituals with them. Here we go. First of all, the world isn't sitting aghast at the revelations in the Epstein files. Mythsell, hate to break the news to you, but most people came and went. No one gives a shit. Most people on the planet are not sitting around thinking about dissolving fetuses in acid. I mean, who thinks about this crap? So here he is talking about Jesse Turner, another one of Maury Terry's very sketchy associates who gave him information. And now the factory in New Orleans obtained a vat of acid to dispose of fetuses. So he's reminded of the Jeffrey Epstein affair now with vats of acid. All right. So now, of course, Mythsell is now going to say that because this happened in New Orleans in 1970, which we actually don't know, it's just the word of Jesse Turner. There's actually no proof here. There's no, how do we know this? Acid sore story, vat of acid in van. He doesn't know it, but a major process figure was in that van. Okay, who, where, what, why, when? Where's the police reports about all this stuff? I don't see it. So you see what I'm saying? Like, now this is he's tying in Epstein to the Son of Sam, not directly, but saying that they're all involved in dissolving fetuses. Now these people have gone from burying kids and defiling kids at Untermeyer Park in the middle of the night. I don't know how they would really get away with doing that, given that it's in the middle of a residential area. But all right, let's just say that it happened. I mean, here they are constantly talking about, now it's gone from that to disposing of fetuses in vats of acid. The process allegedly had a contact, a nurse at New Orleans Free Clinic, who steered girls to the group. The fetuses, once aborted, were used in rituals. The 10 to 15 gallon vat of acid was transported in a van tied to a New Orleans head shop at the corner of Bourbons and Orleans. Terry noted that unbeknownst to Turner, a major process figure involved was in the van, but did not name the individual. And all right, so here's an unnamed source which did not name the individual, and according to Terry, and at no point does this guy ever say to himself, Mythsell, that this is Rumpelstiltskin. I'm actually talking about a fairy tale here. Like, what am I doing? This is crazy. I'm constantly thinking about vats of acid and aborted fetuses and head shops in New Orleans and 10 to 15-year-old girls who were used in the first of all, if the fetuses were used in rituals, like why would you need to dispose of them in acid? Wouldn't they be so marred and mutilated that, like, why would the acid be necessary? I don't quite understand that. But then again, I don't sit here and I don't sit here and think about these things all day long like these people do. So at no point does Mythsell say to himself, yo, I'm getting all this information from Maury Terry, who paid Billy the Artist $2,000 and then a new set of dentures for his mother, and then showed comic book art to David Berkowitz, who then laundered it and said, yeah, that's it's Ken. What is Chocolate saying here? Manny, you might know this. Can lime dissolve a dead body? I never know what I believe. I put lime on my lawn. I have no idea about lime dissolving dead bodies. I don't know about dead bodies. I don't know about dissolving dead bodies. It's something I've seen, I guess, in movies, but I never have once thought about it. But yeah, lime can be used to raise the pH of your soil. So Ung427, who's new to me, I never heard that name before. Welcome. It's the typical data overflow. Someone who doesn't know acid, do they sell acid at head shops? Someone would say, yeah, they could, not knowing what type the acid was talking about. Yeah, it's true. I never thought about that. It was a head shop. They could have been talking about another type of acid. But even so, what's it got to do with Epstein, with Son of Sam? Like, that's where this kills me. Like, first associate, and I'm not talking to you, Ong, I'm talking to the Jonathan Mythsell. Like, first get me the process involved in Son of Sam, and then we can talk. Watching the recently surfaced interview of Epstein further reduced the possibility of the lurid Epstein theories because you can't believe it so easily when you see his Monday. Yeah, I thought the same thing. The dude didn't seem very intelligent, at least not an intelligence that would like attract the best people in the world, but he looked like he was definitely was a player, a facilitator, God knows what he was up to. Again, I don't think about these things. Whatever it was, there's probably a new Epstein out there, which now, because everyone's thinking about the old Epstein, you're not thinking about the new Epstein. And guess what? In 100 years, there's going to be another Epstein. And 200 years after that, there's going to be another Epstein. This is a story as old as time. There's always going to be Epsteins around. There's nothing you can do. I had the same realization when I heard an interview with De Grimston, founder of the Process Church. I'm going to put the if anyone wants to come into the show and talk while we finish out, we're almost done here. If anyone wants to come in and say hello, I'm putting the link in the chat. All right, so he's talking about now vats of acid and aborted fetuses, and I don't know what the hell any of this has to do with anything of reality in the world that I know. And again, I'm someone who comes from deeply steeped in the world of thinking about Epstein and David Icke and slave species of God, and every mass shooting was a psyop, and crisis actors everywhere, and all of this crazy stuff. I was right there with you. It was this realization of Maury Terry's lies that woke me up to all of this crap. And I think if there's any one benefit psychologically to my video series, is that you can take comfort in the fact that if you're off the fence with some of this conspiracy theory, it's actually good. I still think 9/11 was an inside job. I'm never going to not think that. I think Oklahoma City, there was something more with that story. That's what radicalized me in the first place. Oklahoma City. And I'm still down with the program. Don't get me started on COVID. As someone who lost everything because of what happened socially during COVID, don't get me started on COVID. But when it comes to seeing the world about pedophiles and satanic rituals and all of this stuff, even if it is everything you think is true, happen, even if that's like, still, what can you do? So it's like, go plant a tree, prune a shrub, go do something with your hands, buy a model kit, listen to music, buy a guitar, do something productive with your life, because thinking about this crap isn't helping you. All right. Especially since it's such debased and debauched stuff. Why would you want to talk about this? So here we go. They're buying acid. The process is buying acid. And now we have, compare this grisly recollection of Turner to a wire transfer request form, which recently came to light in the Epstein files made available by the U.S. Department of Justice. It shows that Epstein ordered 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid to be delivered to Little St. James, one of his 2 private islands. Some sources speculate that the acid was intended for water desalinization, but no official explanation has been offered thus far. And then it shows a wire transfer for some vats of acid, sulfuric acid, as if this guy's buying enough acid to dissolve bones. First of all, I got to give Jason Goodman credit for this, because this is where he was talking about this way, way long ago. Let's just go with these fantasies of needing to dispose of 1 million bodies, that you would need 6 55-gallon. The process only needed 1 vat of acid to get rid of tons of fetuses. How many bodies were they getting rid of here on the Epstein Island? And, no one ever thought about that. The person who had to come onto the island and put the sulfuric acid never saw anything. Anyway, shit. Sometimes I go on such tangents that I can't remember what my freaking point was. And this is one of those things. So, yeah. So now sulfuric acid is somehow, Jason Goodman, and the whole issue of disposing bodies. You don't think that there was an easier way, that they could have just put bodies on boats? They lived on an island. They could have just driven out 100 feet out into the ocean and dropped the body with a weight on it. Goodman used to talk about Epstein's 727 airline. It's the only airplane of that type that you could open up a hatch in mid-flight and throw things out of it. So Jason used to think that that's how they were getting rid of bodies. I personally have never thought about getting rid of bodies or Epstein getting rid of bodies, or the machinations and logistics of getting rid of bodies. It's not something, again, it's like not something that I think about. I'm not saying I'm the most positive person on planet Earth, far from it, but I don't fill my days with thinking about child trafficking and pedophile rings and horrific crimes against children. And I've seen some of the stuff that's going around on Twitter. It's so insulting to the intelligence that people would take it seriously. And of course, here you have Mythsell taking something very mundane. They're buying sulfuric acid. We're going to find out why in a second, after we read this last paragraph. But he's taken that and starting to connect it to the process, which then connects the Son of Sam. Epstein was running a far larger operation than the one overseen by the Process Church in New Orleans, but the difference would have been purely a degree rather than kind. Epstein's vile observation in 2013 email that the girls on his island were like shrimp. You throw away the head and keep the body. Hints at the same ghastly problem faced many years earlier by the Process: how to dispose of human remains. There could be no more appropriate time to reopen the Son of Sam investigation than right now, when the horrors of Epstein's crimes are fresh in the public consciousness, as occult-related human trafficking finally sheds the conspiracy theory tag and moves into the realm of documented fact. Let's work to achieve justice for all the victims over the decades. First of all, you're still a conspiracy theorist. That tag has not been shed. Realm of documented fact. Well, let's talk about realms of realms of documented fact. So here, I was very interested in this vat of acid, I have to say. There was something I was like, why the hell would this guy need vats of acid? So I just typed into Google, like, why would, I know it's the evil Google, but why would they need vats of acid? And it was something very mundane. Let me find it here. Why did Jeffrey buy gallons of sulfuric acid. Conspiracies about dissolving bodies and bones shocked the internet. So routine sounding supply order has become the latest flashpoint in the ever-expanding mystery. Anyway, 330 gallons were ordered. Don't tell that to Jason Goodman, about 33. So they ordered sulfuric acid. The transaction was $4,300. Wire transfer to Gemini Seawater System, a company specializing in water treatment solutions. So it turns out that so here you go, right? Other people are doing the same thing that Mythsell's doing, only Mythsell's trying to connect it now to Son of Sam. Oh, they open an investigation and that's what he bought, sulfuric acid, but it's just like a normal mundane picture. The transaction was logged under a general ledger tied to reverse osmosis infrastructure and included additional items such as conductivity probe materials and replacement pH cables. These components are commonly used in water treatment systems, particularly on remote properties that rely on self-contained desalination and water treatment management. And so I found that article. And then I found one more just to see if, all right, maybe it's just one article talking about it. And then I found this one here, which is essentially kind of like the same thing. Did Jeffrey Epstein order sulfuric acid to dissolve bodies? We need to focus on Jeffrey Epstein's real crimes, make them known, and charge everyone who was involved. Claims like this are going viral, but they're baseless and they take away from the real investigation and what happened to his victims. There are significant factual problems with these posts when compared to what the email actually says. They're talking about the email about sulfuric acid, which are, quite frankly, are too boring for me to get into. Email references 1 drum of sulfuric acid, not 6 55-gallon drums or 330 gallons. Okay, so right there, Mythsell is wrong about this. They only bought 1 drum, not 6. And it's reverse osmosis. Desalinization is how you get fresh drinking water from seawater. Sulfuric acid is routinely used in reverse osmosis systems to adjust pH. Calcium carbonate is used for remineralization. These are normal everyday chemicals for operating a water treatment plant. So here you have something, again, that's very easily debunked, very easy to find the true and scientific explanation for vats. First of all, a vat of acid. That's what you do. I've been around billionaires, okay? I know exactly what happens with these people and their life, in the sense that, like, every day they're ordering shit for their freaking houses. And it's not like one little thing from the grocery store. These people are talking about or buying all sorts of stuff for their houses that cost many, many thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And this is one of those things. We got somebody in the audience here, Nahid. Yo, what's up, Nahid? Turn on your audio and turn off your YouTube, please.
Hello, brother.
Hey, Nahid, what's going on, my man? How you doing over here?
Yeah, I am doing good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I've never seen your name before.
Yes, it's okay. I can come first time as well. There is no issue.
What would you like to say to the audience?
Yeah, what are you discussing, brother?
You don't know what we're discussing?
Yeah.
Nahid, my man, I don't think that this is going to be a very interesting conversation if you don't even know what we're talking about. So I'm going to say goodbye to you. I appreciate you being here, but this is not the kind of call that I want to entertain. Thank you very much. So, hold on. So anyway, guys, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Doug Grass, does this guy just sit and get high and make this shit up? Like, what's your take on it, Manny? Is he alone or have one sidekick? I don't know. I don't know what the deal with Jonathan Mythsell is. Clearly, he's paranoid schizophrenic in some capacity. no sane person can believe. He actually thinks that I'm sent in by a satanic cult to do this work. It's absolutely insane. Manny, like he only had one thing on his mind, never thought about taking care of his island's water supply. Right, exactly. Like there's certain mundanities of life that occur, and you need sulfuric acid if you live on an island to take care of your water supply. Why would he be, even if he did have all these bodies, why would he put them in sulfuric acid? Then what are you going to do with all that acid? You're just going to dump it into the ocean? Like people would find out about that. Right? I mean, it's like these people never think through their bullshit. What just happened? I have no idea, man. That was crazy. No one ever calls in, and then finally someone calls in, and they don't even know what we're discussing. It's a little strange. So anyway, all right. Look, no one else is calling in. Maybe someone else did. No one else did. So that's basically it. I don't have anything else to say. This kind of like right, sharks are pretty effective. Exactly. You throw them on a boat. I mean, here, I'm going to think about getting rid of a body. I mean, from having never really thought about this. I'm Jeffrey Epstein. I have 30 babies that we just ate. First of all, if you're cannibals and you're eating them, why would you need vats of acid? Wouldn't they be digested? All right. So I have all these baby bodies that I need to get rid of. Let's see. I have a yacht that I can go out for 5 miles into the ocean and throw them in, and no one's ever going to see them. Or I'm going to buy 6 vats of acid from a reputable company that knows about it. There's a paper trail. Everyone knows about my acid that I'm buying. I mean, it just makes no sense. Right. It's called chum. It makes no sense. It just makes no sense on the face of it. But yeah, I just wanted to hop on today because I haven't done a show in a while. And quite frankly, as I've alluded to and outright said in this show a couple times today, the topic is dead. What else am I going to be talking about with Son of Sam? Right? Like, what else can I talk about? There's really not much I can talk about, but not wanting to give up completely. When the right time emerges like it did today, where there's this beautiful nexus between the crazy conspiracies, a prescient story that's taking place in the modern world in real time as we're all going through, and also to show how easily disproven the vile pig, Chubsy Wubsy, aka Dana Duda, people of the world, how easily debunked she is. And it's not even debunked because the stuff that she's coming up with is fantasy. I mean, you don't have to debunk a fantasy. I wouldn't sit here and go, well, why did the wolf say, like, well, didn't the grandmother know that it was a wolf? Because like a wolf can only speak in a wolf's voice. So why did the grandmother not know that that was a wolf at her door? And then when she saw the teeth, how come she didn't know that that was her granddaughter? Like, a wolf can only sound like a wolf. So how did it sound like the granddaughter? Like, and first of all, what was Little Red Robin Hood doing out in the forest in the first place? She was specifically told by her mother not to go. So that means that Little Red Robin Hood was disobeying her mother, and the fact that her mother didn't even know that happened indicates some form of child abuse, right? Like, I could go on forever about Little Red Robin Hood, but like there comes a point when you realize, oh, this is just kind of crazy. Well, that's where these people are, these morons, MAURONS, these Son of Sam Maury Terry fans. Their worldview now is leading them into this Epstein stuff where they're believing every crazy allegation that's being made. They're talking about babies being eaten. They're talking about vats of acid. I personally will never understand it, but I'm glad I at least got to get some of this off my chest. All right. Until next time, folks, we'll see you later.